Testing, 1, 2. Alrighty. Okay, so closed captioning is not enabled. I'm sorry. Okay, added it to the playlist. Okay, testing. I wonder, is this thing even working? Okay, so it does show that I'm working. I want to check it real quick. I'm going to deactivate the microphone temporarily. See, originally I wanted to... Oh, 26 subscribers. Thank you, everybody, for subscribing, by the way. I really greatly appreciate it. Okay, everything is working. I'm glad to see that. So I'm going to move my mouse out of the way so it's not in the way. I'm going to be taking my GPD Win 3, guys, girls, people of all ages, which is on for some reason. I don't know why. There we go. Now it's off. So I'm going to be taking this thing slightly apart. I got an Nvme drive in here, Western Digital. It's a 1 terabyte. Doesn't need to be something fancy. I'm going to be installing it here under the GPD Win 3. I need to remove my SD card, and of course then I'm going to be installing, using this drive I got Linux installed on it. Anyways, if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to ask. For my toolkit, I've been using the iFixit kit, which, you know, I'm very thankful that I got from Christmas. It's been really useful. We're going to need a few tools, of course. We're going to need one of these spludger tools. Most people recommend 2. And I generally use one of these nice little tools here for popping things open, if need be. Please, for the love of God, if you ever work on technical stuff, don't wear something technical at the same time. Take it into your basic knowledge or any knowledge and use a special component for it. A special piece for it. Starting off, I'm going to be doing something pretty simple. We need to remove all the screws from the top, which, you know, it takes a bit of a minute. Need to wipe off all this fingertip stuff. So, taking a look here, we got 2 on the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the back, and none on the bottom. I have taken this apart once. We have small screws here, so I'm going to take my iFixit screwdriver. Let's see what kind we got to work with. I think that's not going to work. That's a try screw. Let's see if this fits. That fits. So we are going to use the 000 cross or Phillips. Now I use this here as a guide, so I'll always know where everything is for each screw. So, I'm gonna move this around like so, though I know where everything is. First screw there. Second screw next to it. One thing we don't want to forget is the SD card. You never want to forget to uninstall that or remove it. Me, I have a 400 gigabyte SanDisk. I've been using this for basically just holding basic stuff. Everything from ROMs, basically, ISOs. I'm a big fan of emulations and restoration of old hardware for gaming. Facebook's acting a little funky, so I would normally be streaming there simultaneously, but I can't. For some reason, they've demonetized me. Lost my mind. All the time, all the time. Now, the version that I have here, this GPD Win 3 is a special edition that they had started last year, give or take. It went into crowdfunding back in 2020. Got released for everybody to finally obtain in 2021. I think it was January whenever mine arrived. Alright, so I got that one out. One of the bottoms being obnoxious, it doesn't want to come out. Now the weird thing about the GPD Win 3 is it uses a Thunderbolt 4 basically. So it is a USB-C connection on the bottom. But it has to have a 20 volt 3.25 amp, which is, if you do the math, quite a bit of power just to charge it. Okay, that's not coming out, which is perfectly fine. I'll put that here. And whenever it comes to taking this thing out, you have to take it out a little bit easy. We go along the top here. I go towards the clips. So since the screw's on this side here, as you can see, means the clips will also be on the same side. So I take this here and I slowly go along it. Oh, The snag. Hmm. This is always so complicated to remove. Whoa. I might need another one of those splitters. Because I really don't want it to close up on me. Wow, it does not want to unhook. Wow, being obnoxious with me today. Okay. Sorry, I know it's kind of hard to see whenever I'm doing this. But I'm also trying to see where I'm going at this. Wow, okay, let's try from the other side then. Sorry, I'm having complications here. How come it's not unhooking? Did I miss something? Ah, my thumb! I must have missed something here. Because it's not normal that it just wouldn't disconnect. The whole right to repair stuff is actual. Okay, so I think I got it. Oh, that's on there really good. Okay, let's move this up a little bit so I have a bit more leeway. Got it. See, got it. Not an easy thing to do. But I understand why. Because doofus me forgot the clips are all on one side, facing the same direction. Now I'll take this over here. You can see. Carefully. I did say carefully. Very carefully. What I'm doing is I'm taking this, pulling it down a little bit so that the hook unhooks nice and easily. Now it's generally more convenient to use splitter tool, which is something I'm not doing at the moment, and I should be. Okay, so the light's still off. Whew. Just making sure I didn't accidentally turn it back on. That'd be mess. Alrighty. Got it. A lot. GPD did a really amazing job whenever they built this thing. And there's the screw that we couldn't get out. Noxious little thing. What's interesting, you take a look at this, right? The back is done up via contacts. Now that we got this far, we need to remove these two screws so that we can put the the new drive in. Hey, Shelby. This is a GPD Win 3rd generation, released last year, was on Indiegogo on 2020. Basically, think of it like this. Something the size or smaller than your Nintendo Switch, but can play new games that your PlayStation 4 can play from Windows. Some dog hair in this. I don't know why. Goodness gracious. I'm going to face this forward so I know how to use that. As part of the Indiegogo campaign, and Indiegogo is a website where you can help creators that do up this kind of hardware, and you know, they make money. They make money and they can create new hardware. GPD has been doing this stuff for the last 5 years. I've been wanting to get one for a while, and whenever the first time I saw the GPD Win 3 pop up, I'm like, okay, take my money. Take my money. Now the only ones that these will fit will be one-sided SD NVMe drive. So there's the Western Digital. I put that there. And then for storage, I'll take this one and just attach it right on back in here. Actually, Shelby, I've got 3 of these. Believe it or not. This one runs Intel, but it is a beast for Intel. I put it in this little storage container so that the NVMe drive doesn't get damaged. So, one is the GPD Win 3. Why do you keep trying to call the drive an SD card? I don't know. Because I've been working with SD cards. I just upgraded my SD card that I have on my Steam Deck. I had a 400 gigabyte SD card and I upgraded it to a 1 terabyte SD card, and it was cheaper than the 1 terabyte drive was. It was cheaper than the 400 gigabyte one was, which was amazing. Oh. I have a bunch of toys. What happened? I grew up and I got adult money, and afterwards I started using that adult money to get adult toys. Oh god, I just set myself up for failure on that one. Not the kind of toys that you think. Alright, so I actually have a docking station for this thing, and that's attached to my capture card, so you all will be able to see what's on my screen whenever I load this thing up. And I will be able to change my mouse and keyboard to work with this thing as well. It runs in 4K. This was a special edition that they had on their Indiegogo campaign. So this has an Intel i7 1165 G7, which is not exactly the most high-end one. It's more like their mid-grade one. The most high-end grade one that they have is an 1195. And they didn't have that available during the time frame, but once the 1195 came into play, they started sending those things out for people who pre-ordered the 1165 and just replaced it. But me, I still have one of the good old-fashioned classics. GPD did announce the Win 4, which runs Intel, or not Intel, but AMD hardware. And, oh, it is amazing. Oh yeah, it's got a 5-inch screen. And yeah, there is a grip that you can purchase for it, which gives it a better feel to your hands whenever you're gaming on the fly. And I've tried so many games with this thing. I took it on vacation with me last year, and the problem that I had is I couldn't charge it with the battery pack that I have. I have two Anker batteries, and Anker is one of the top-end batteries that you can get. Their brands, their external batteries are amazing. But the ones that I purchased allow for input of power delivery, but not output. Meaning you can charge the thing at 20 watts, but it won't output at 20 watts. It'll only output in 15. For this thing to work, you need at least, well, more than that. General input is 20 volts, 3.25. So 20 times 3... 60. So checking everything out, the math 64 watts is what's required to charge this thing. So, but it needs a minimum of 20 watts to work. You can do the math yourself whenever it comes down to the wattage. What you do is you take the volts and multiply it by the amps, and that's how you know what your wattage rating is. So some of the new fast chargers, they're not really being truthful. So it's best to figure out what the wattage is by looking at the amps and the voltage and then doing the math yourself. So the newest SanDisk, or in this case Western Digital. Western is SanDisk, mind you. I'm gonna need these for later on whenever I replace the hard drive. Now you're probably wondering, why did I change it out? A developer over in France I've been following for several years. He's released one of his games and he's run into a bit of a complication. So I took my handy dandy little mess hold on. The GPD Win 3, and I was just install Ubuntu Linux, which is native for it. The thing that I like about GPD is they originally had a clamshell, so it would be this big and it would just open and close, and the controls would be lower and more complicated. With this, they did something slightly different. They went a Sony mobile system base works method basically. So instead of, you know, having to have a clamshell, keyboard on the bottom, screen on the top, this screen just slides up and there's your keyboard. Of course, it is touch sensitive keyboard, so that's going to be a thing. It does come with an SD card slot, so you can put up to 1 to 2 terabytes if you can ever find a 2 terabyte or willing to pay the $600 for a 2 terabyte SD card. You can. Rambo, you just farted. Thank you very much, dog. Of course, this switch here allows you to switch between mouse and controller mode. So in mouse mode, the right-hand joystick becomes your mouse, and of course the clicks on the L1 and R1 key. And then you switch it down and it turns into an Xbox One controller, and then you can play any of your games. Xbox controller, start and select, and of course on the bottom here is a fingerprint sensor. The new version that they're coming out with, of course, like I said, runs AMD. I'm an AMD fanboy, so that's going to be amazing. It's going to have Thunderbolt, or at least USB 4.0, so if anybody has the hardware external, they can. Oh yeah, it's small, it's nice. Somebody messaged me. Who says hi, Pickle Daddy? Aw. Hey, Kaylee. So I'm going to put this on the mount, and then we're going to switch over to the docking station, which will output to the screen, hopefully. And I'll have to set up my mouse and keyboard to work off of that, which is pretty much just as easy as flipping things. So, got it on the dock. I'm going to switch over to the capture mode. There we go. Okay, so I need this one right here. All right, there we go. So I need to plug, where's my SD card in? There's my flash drive. There it is, found it. Haha. I'll plug in my flash drive on the top. I have a direct input. Then I'll turn it on. And hopefully everything just Works. Boot. Yeah, I know. It'll show no signal at the moment. Actually, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change it. Okay, so the fan policy is fine. Okay, for the record, this was working earlier. And everything is going to be sideways. At least until I get... Oh, wow. They actually have it working properly. Give me a second to figure out what I'm doing here. Hey. Everything's being installed off of this little card, basically. And as you can see, I have my mouse. Okay, the brightness is a bit excessive, but there's nothing I can do about that. I apologize. I'll tell it to install. US. Actually, I might be able to do something. There we go. Of course, this also works. Telling it to install the stuff that it needs to. Okay, so it's going to install it as ext4, which is good. ext4 has a lot of redundancies that are really useful. Your name, I'll just put in trigger. Choose a password. I just use something basic, coder. Tell it to log in automatically. But yeah, whenever this is done, we'll be able to switch over to the capture card, and from the capture card, we'll be able to see it all in full screen. Now it's going to just copy the files off of the SD card, and then while it's connected to the network, it's going to download any drivers that are required. Ooh. And this little thing that's on it, that it's onto, it's probably hard to see. It's a dock. So the dock allows me to output to an HDMI, and of course use my mouse that I have here and the keyboard in addition. And there's also an Ethernet connection that's connected to the back. So it's got everything that I need, plus some. Kind of hard to see, but yeah. Also, Shelby, this channel here, Will It Play? This channel is specifically for me to basically do recordings from this device, the other two devices that I have, compare and contrast, see what the performance is on all three of them. Well, the other device, I think I may have shown you. I had it on hand whenever I went to the States. But this is the Neo 2021. And it looks like a Nintendo Switch, of course. But it's got two USB slots on the top, third one on the bottom. It doesn't have an SD card slot at all, but it has a lot of storage. I put a 2 terabyte SD card, I put a 2 terabyte Nvme drive in it, and I did install quite a few games, but not enough to really keep me busy. I did bring that as on vacation for a short time. Couldn't charge it up unless I had a very high-end battery, and I brought that battery with me, and I showed you that one. That's a big boy. Alternatively, I do have one other device. And this one arrived before my vacation. Switch this over here, and then I'll show you this one here. This one's the Steam Deck. It's a 256 gigabyte model. Has touchpads on the sides, joysticks, which I replaced, and I also streamed replacing the things on it for hall sensors. Basic LNR connections. A big beefy battery, and buttons up the hoo-ha. Touchscreen in addition. Does everything. And Wi-Fi. This is going to be a little bit difficult to see. I'm just telling it to restart now. It's going to reboot it, and hopefully it's going to run fine. Now, the thing about these handhelds is the screen isn't made the way that you see it, like you do for a TV or monitor. Basically, these screens are actually sideways. Oh, the price of the small one here, this one, the GPD Win 3, will be dropping because the GPD Win 4 will be coming out. Go with the Steam Deck, it's cheaper. Go with a 64 gigabyte model, and then install one of these SD cards and put all your games on it. See, now everything's starting to look nice. I'm taking a look at the Elgato still off of the other deal, and it shows no signal still, but it'll definitely connect. Eventually. So basically, to save on cost, what they do is they take tablet-based screens and they install them onto this because they're cheaper. And then afterwards tell the software to rotate it. So it's no longer in portrait mode, it's in landscape. And most games and screens, whenever they do an image, they do what's called a render in hertz. Now hertz, or frames per second, is one complete frame. One complete frame is pixel, 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 all the way across the top, and then all the way across. So it goes from top left to bottom right. Some games look really weird and do not work well with this kind of format. And what's the word for it? Portrait mode. So they switch it to landscape. So in portrait mode, basically it does the same thing, but as you can see, this is the normal way up. So it renders it bottom left-hand corner and goes up one at a time. So one full run is one frame. So yeah, FPS thing. I'm glad I didn't put my SD card in there. That would have been a mess. Because if I would have put this SD card in, I would have lost everything. I got a lot of games that are installed on there. I'm going to unplug this from that. See if anything happens. So it went to sleep. Oh, it woke up. Okay, so now we see it booting. Now it's in Windows. Or, in this case, Linux. See if my mouse pops up since I just docked it. Alright. Live patch. Now set up. No. Oh, it's setting everything up. No, I don't want to send anything. I want location services. Ooh, look. It's code, Zoom chat, Spotify, Slack capabilities. All this stuff is all compatible, including Discord and Opad. Goodness gracious. And there we go. We have Linux on here. So let's go to display settings. Okay. Tell it to go to the Elgato. I'm going to hit apply. Okay, I don't know why it's not detecting it. Maybe it's the format of the screen.